Today, our guest is Wallace Murray, a registered therapeutic counselor and counseling hypnotherapist who brings a profound depth of expertise to the realm of alternative healing. His practice draws on an extensive background in family therapy, psychedelic assisted treatments, and compassionate inquiry, enriched through mentorship with Balinese and Cree wisdom keepers. Trained in Doctor Gabor Mate's renowned compassionate inquiry approach, Wallace, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Let's start with our first question about your Get Sober program. So, how do you integrate hypnotherapy, psychotherapy, and possibly microdosing to support clients in overcoming addiction?
Thanks. That's a good question. Well, all of those approaches, we have a kind of a three stages to our program. The first one is actually just helping people. We'll call it a behavioral model in a sense that we're supporting people to just get their daily practices in line, like eating a certain way, waking up at the same time, eating healthy, et cetera, et cetera. So it's almost kind of geared toward coaching a bit, we'll say. And that's kind of the first step. But of course, when we do that, we use a variety of techniques, and some of them would almost be considered hypnotherapy in a way. So that's kind of the first month. Now, how we incorporate the hypnotherapy and the psychotherapy is, as they're kind of getting over the first month into the second, we do a couple, usually about 3 or 4 really deep therapeutic sessions. And when I say deep, a lot of therapy, we're not traditional talk therapists. So talk therapies, of course, we do that. People speak and they talk and everything else. But we're always interested in getting to the source of where something's coming from, meaning why the addiction, why, what happened in their lives where they went down a path where these substances, let's say alcohol, was a great way to reduce pain and take away all the pain and sadness or whatever was going on with whatever happened. I personally have never met anyone who's addicted that hasn't gone through some sort of traumatic experience. I just haven't encountered it, and I've also worked with children who've gone through significant trauma and abuse, and when I say children, I also mean teenagers, and how they were kind of on the cusp and how they were starting to choose things to take away that pain and help deal with all the symptoms and everything else. So I think that's really important in an approach or a way to look at this. So how we incorporate hypnotherapy and psychotherapy is I use those things to really get into kind of some of the roots a little bit of what's going on, as well as to explore some of the different family dynamics or different things that have happened in kind of a way outside of the brain. So when you get out of the brain and you go into the body, for example, you're able to kind of observe and see things, what's going on in a bit of a different way. And actually, contrary, I think, to some people's beliefs, it can actually be done in ways that are actually, on one hand, can be uncomfortable because you're kind of sitting with and maybe going with emotions or bodily sensations that are new. But on the other hand, it can be also more enlightening in that once you're kind of able to do that, and we're able to do that, they're able to perceive and see things almost for the first time in new ways. And that's kind of how we do that. So we and also the reason we do that is because our second part is about ceremony, is about going in and doing an actual journey with psilocybin. And hypnotherapy, and especially when you go deeper into your body and kind of non-ordinary states of consciousness in a variety of ways, you're also preparing and getting comfortable with a non-ordinary state of consciousness that you're going to experience in a psilocybin session. And that's kind of how we do it. You did ask about microdosing. I have a bit of a different take on microdosing. I think microdosing can There's a lot of the research. There's part of the research that says it doesn't work, and then there's another part of research that says, hey, there's something going on here, and it's really helping people, because lots of people are reporting positive experiences and positive outcomes from microdosing. I see microdosing as a great way to prepare a relationship and get comfortable with, in this case, psilocybin mushrooms, and to get comfortable with how your body responds to it, and I'm going to say get in a relationship with it. So by the time you get to the ceremony and the journeys that you're going to do, you've already done a variety of practices and things up to. I could go on and on about it, about food and daily practices and etc. that we do. That would take a long time, but we have a kind of a preparation practices that we do beforehand, and that's how we incorporate microdosing.
Well, that sounds quite interesting. I've never heard about Get Sober program just like that. So, yeah, I believe there will be a lot of people interested about it once they get to know you better, and they can always schedule a free discovery call with you, right?
Absolutely. I think that's the best way, just to see if they'll get a comfort, to see if we're fit, and to see if they're fit for us. So I think that's the best, always the best way to see how something works.
And let's jump into our second questions. So, for those considering psychedelic assisted therapy, what can they expect in a session at your Netherlands retreat? And how do you
Okay.
ensure their safety?
That's the biggest one. I had a couple good conversations. I'll get kind of specific here with someone in Germany who was asking me a lot of questions, because they were quite concerned about doing a ceremony and doing this retreat, this type of retreat. And the reason they were so worried was because they've already had, and I'm sure you've encountered this, and there'll be people watching this, that they've already had experiences. Some have been positive, but some people have gone to do a retreat or some sort of psychedelic, and they've had a negative experience. I get a lot of referrals, not for people who want to do psychedelics, actually. I get referrals for people who've done it, and they had the term is called adverse experience, means they didn't have a good time. they didn't have a good, they had anxiety, they had memories, they couldn't deal with it, and the people facilitating them or leading that didn't do a good job. And I'm not saying I'm perfect at all, but I'm hearing sometimes out there that people are arranging these things and they haven't necessarily experienced or know how to work with these things. So that's really important to us, that we're following, we're doing things in a certain way. So one of the biggest things to make sure and have safety for any retreat is what you do much before. Meaning, if you do all that well, you've really maximized or really put everything in place to have the best positive outcomes possible. And I'll talk about whatever risks are there, because stuff can happen. So that's really our first step. We have a variety of, and what I always do is I do a variety, at least 3, sometimes 6, but a minimum of 3 sessions, psychotherapeutic sessions, before the retreat. I mean, individually. And the purpose of that is a couple of things. One is to kind of see what's going on with the person. And the other, you'll hear it a lot in psychedelic assisted therapy, is that intention setting. And the other is to really figure out, when I say intention setting, it isn't about, hey, I want to be a Superman. Like sometimes people say, I want to be this or I want to be that. It's actually getting to the source, or really deeper down, of what's been going on with a person. Whether it's a certain belief system, I'm not good enough, or whether it's maybe creating a whole life from shame or guilt. And if you can get into that source, you can build, I'll say, a therapeutic or a healing intention. And that's the type of intention someone can bring into a ceremony. And by doing that, your ceremony and ceremonies will be much, much more powerful and much more healing. So that's one of the things we do. The other way we really make sure that there's safety during the ceremonies is we prepare people for the actual journey. Like, we talk about it. Like, you start off this way, you go up, there's a peak, what's going on in your body, and practical, real ways that you can stay safe. That's through breathing exercises. Things like, another one is just a basic help. And when you say help, we know that when we come, we're going to do a certain thing, like hold your hand in a certain way that's already been practiced and everyone knows, and we're going to help breathe. The other thing that's not always talked about, that in any ceremony or journey, that you're always in charge, and that you always have a place right here, right now on the earth. And there's kind of different mantras and different practices that we do and we practice. So at any time, I'm connected right here. Wherever I'm gone, I'm connected back to my body. And there's ways to open your eyes and breathe and do those things. And you can ask us for help, and you can quickly come back. So that's I think one of the most important ways. And of course, other ways that people know, you do safety profiles, you ask questions, you may talk about medications, you make sure that people on a certain diet, and you're addressing contraindications if there's medication and things, and all those kinds of things. We of course do that. But I think these other things are really important. And the other way for safety isn't just about that retreat time, it's about after. How are you integrating and going back into your world? So we also have 3 individual sessions I always do 3 individual sessions for that, always. And then also there's group work after. So I think that's really important. And that's what we're doing for not just anything I do in Netherlands, but I'm also helping people set those kinds of things up for other types of retreats in different parts of the globe.
On Sisu, you have this retreat, psychedelic retreat in the Netherlands, which is upcoming, starting on the 15th of January until 19th of January. So it's 4 nights, 5-day retreats. And on the website, everyone who is interested can read about the schedule and also what's included. But I just want to remind everyone who is interested in this kind of psychedelic retreat in the Netherlands to first book a free discovery call with Wallace and discuss their needs during that call.
Yes, because there's so much there. I'm sure I didn't address everything, and someone may have a specific question. Absolutely.
Exactly. And for those who are going to do it for the first time, that's the most important part, to feel safe. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
How about your altering authenticity program? It sounds quite intriguing. Can you share a technique that that helps participants uncover their true purpose during this program?
Absolutely. So I guess in one sense, I'm a bit unique. So many of us watching or listening right now, and you as well, you know how you'll look online, or there's different exercises where they'll have like 100 words or 300 words of values. And the exercise will be, hey, go through it all and cross out every word that isn't you, as a value that isn't you, until you get to your final 10. I think those are awesome. I've done those. I've even done them during retreats. I think they're great for really telling you what values you're not, and kind of values that you have. I think it's great. What I do is different, and I really base it on I'll say a linguistic and cognitive way of how we create our world with language. So I have a method and an approach where the values actually come outside of you, because all of us have you. Even though we speak, let's say we share language and we speak that language and we have an agreement on what those words mean, nevertheless, there's a whole history and a whole bunch of brain structure, a whole bunch of schemata in our brains that has that word tied to a whole bunch of feelings in our body and emotions, and also experiences and different things that make that word very meaningful, full of meaning for us. So that's really when I have an exercise that pulls those words out, roughly around 8 to 12. We always aim for around 8 to 12 values. And those words, those values are uniquely yours. They're yours. And they have more meaning than they could for me or anybody else. So that really is the start of the whole authenticity program. And the reason why it's such an important start, that the objective of it and the goal and what you're going to get at the end of the program is a life document. And that document's going to have your values first. It's going to have a variety of questions that you can use to quickly get yes or no. If you're feeling off in any value in your life, you go back to the question, read it, and it's like a gentle slap, like, hey, it's either yes or no. And if it's no, it's like, okay, I got to figure out this area of my life and go back in the document. We also figure out your 10-year vision and in a variety of different areas of life. And then after all that's done, we get into 3-year intentions, which are really intentions that are kind of smart. When you hear things of, SMART goals, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, time, they are that. More than that, they're actionable and they're organic, meaning you can go back to them and change them year by year. And they're actionable because you're going to take those things and start putting them in your calendar and start doing those intentions in your life. Now, working backwards from that, by doing those intentions, you're then over time kind of creating the vision that you want in your life, but it's all framed around your values. And even though I kind of mentioned it, that those values kind of contain and frame things. They frame what you're writing down throughout the document. So what doesn't happen is you make people make documents and they say, I want to make more money. That's great. But oftentimes we want to make more money. We'll just work harder. We'll do the same things and we'll work harder. But that working harder may be maybe counter to another value that you have, maybe undiscovered, about having time with family or having very meaningful one-on-one relationships. Well, there's a way to kind of create both, meaning if once you get into it, you say, hey, I might have a value and I really want to create meaningful relationships. Maybe it's not about a lot of money. You want to have enough money to create certain things in your life. And that's what this kind of document does. I hope that makes sense. Yeah. I always say that and I can speak for myself, I've been doing this now for about 13 years, and I created my own. I've done it twice now from scratch, like my own. And working just what I experienced, and I've seen a number of times now, that when you're living a life from your values, you're no longer in existential crisis. Now you have pain, meaning like you'll have love, you'll have anger, you'll have sadness, you'll have all the stuff the juicy stuff of life. What you won't have is an existential crisis about it, because you're living really the life you're meant to live.
Sounds amazing. So your program
Yeah.
starts on the 18th of January, right? This
Yes,
program,
it is.
so yeah, anyone who is interested, I also invite you to book a free discovery call with Wallace, because that's the way you will find out this program is the right one for you, because Wallace actually offers a lot of programs. I will leave the link to his store on Sisu in the description of this video, so you can see there are more than few programs that might interest you, but we just speak about this today because we have like this kind of curiosity about them, right?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
also we are curious about microdosing therapy.
Okay.
How do you use microdosing assisted counseling to address anxiety or depression?
Okay. Well, it's interesting because those are the reasons people are Googling microdosing a lot online and speaking about it, mainly for anxiety and depression. I think it's a wonderful, I'm going to call it a friend. This is going to be an interesting way to put it, but I'm going to say that the psychedelics, when you microdose them, they can be wonderful friends to help you get in kind of touch with yourself and to help you feel a different way or look at things in a different way that absolutely will make you less anxious or less depressed. So how I generally do it, is I've described it a bit before, is that the goal is to, and there's different protocols out there, I'm happy to speak about them if you want, but the real goal is to start a program and to start taking them in a certain way. Now, and monitor. So generally the reports are quite a bit, not everybody, and a lot is once they start that there's a change in mood or perceptions. Now, that's not all the time. But I think what's really important, if you combine therapy with it, as people go through changes, or they're open to discussing things and things like that, you absolutely start to shift anxiety and depression. But what makes microdosing a little bit different, and I call it a friend, is that it can help amplify or increase positive or negative effects. So in this case, you can use it for positivity. So case in point is, let's say people are getting comfortable with it and they say, okay, let's do a session. Now, a microdose is literally 1/10 of a therapeutic dose, we'll call it. Meaning a dose where people do a big dose and they have a kind of a journey and they have a good time. A psychedelic is generally 1/10 of it, and it's not meant to alter your perceptions. It's kind of whatever that sweet spot is before you're like, oh, things are changing here. That's kind of a psychedelic. However, what we can do, and that's done in clinics and online and stuff like that, is when you go a little bit over that. So you're having light effects, and by having those light effects, you can really get in hypnotherapy or somatic type work in your body and really experience and really kind of expand on a perception or reframe or start to tweak a belief and even put it on and start to kind of see what the world would be like with you in it like that. And it kind of enhances that. And that's, I think, quite important about microdosing. And the jury's still out on microdosing. I happened to, a couple of years ago, read a lot about microdosing, and I wrote a paper on it. And because on one hand, hey, in the brain, it doesn't, it shouldn't be doing that much if you look at it from just a brain-based way. But yet, with these other factors and things going on, people are having sometimes positive experiences. Now, there's some dangers there. Some people reported anxiety and things like that. And I think it can, because if you're taking something, especially if you're taking a little bit, and you're already anxious and you don't know how to deal with it, it might raise that. And that can be really scary. So I think if you're going to do these things, do them in a proper way. And I think that's really, really important, including microdose.
Thank you for that, because you see, I actually see on the website, on the CISU website, when I read about you,
Mm-hmm.
you actually have so many different skills. So this is very important during that microdosing counseling therapy, I believe, like also psychotherapy and also the shamanic practice, psychodynamic practice, also counseling, and as you said before, NLP and somatic treatment, right? So you combine
Absolutely.
all of it together with the microdosing, which makes your therapy quite unique.
Great, yeah. But I'm not a mechanic, so if someone wants me to work on their mind, great, or their body, but not their car. So just yeah, there's some things I absolutely can't do. Luckily, there's some I can do.
Yes, you can guide your clients into the right direction, because you kind of know what's going on inside them because of your experience and of your training.
That, in fact, I would, therapist, I really, what I do is I walk alongside people to guide them to and help them to invite them to bring out their truth, whatever that truth may be. And my role is just to be there with whatever comes up. So if someone gets sad or angry or whatever is coming, my role, really, my role, my responsibility, as in this lifetime here, is to be there no matter what's coming up. Other than that, the rest, everyone does the rest. You'd be surprised. We have a great capacity to heal, to walk in new ways.
Yeah, because of the neuroplasticity of the brain as well, right?
Absolutely. And I'm going to put an and a whole bunch of other factors beyond the brain
Yeah.
that assist us, our body. And I'm going to say it's about the relationships of other people. So you did say that I had some training with quite a well-renowned person, brilliant man, Gabor Mate, who's written many books. And he often says, our traumas, our disconnection happens in relationships that we have throughout our lives. On the flip side, though, our healing, the potentials that we have also lie in the relationships we have with people. And that's really, I think, really important point. And that goes beyond just the biological or the brain-based way of looking at psychology. And there's a whole bunch of other factors and things at play. And I think that's really important. Psychedelics are a great example. So psychedelics you take in, they're doing stuff in the brain. Absolutely. However, there's a whole bunch of other things at play. And that's the whole idea about therapy. Therapy, you're actually speaking, you're doing stuff together. And that's not about the brain. It's not about the brain doing everything. That's about you and I in a relationship talking and doing other things. And slowly we move and uncover things. And that's where a lot of the healing is. So I just wanted to throw that out there too. Yes, and there's a whole bunch of other things going on. Really important stuff.
Yeah, so I can't wait for until maybe you one day write a book because all the things you talk about healing and all the special treatments you do and the people you helped, I'm sure there is like a big source of knowledge there that you could also share it in a book like just Gabor did. So I'm reading this book now. I
Well,
just started it,
oh,
but yeah, I'm
he's
interested
a
about
brilliant
all
guy.
this.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
need a good editor to pull out and maybe a brain person to pull out all this stuff in here. But thank you for that wonderful compliment.
Yeah, yeah. I wish I could one day read that book, seriously. So I don't know if you have time for the last question, or I understand if you don't, you have a very busy life.
Yeah, I have a few minutes. Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, a few minutes. I'm just looking at the time. I'm good for a few minutes. Yeah.
So I want to ask about family therapy. It can be challenging with deep-rooted issues, and you offer a family therapy as well. So what unique approach do you use to help families break negative patterns and communicate better?
Oh man. Well, I ask myself that question all the time. And I often laugh. I thought, how the heck did I get involved in family therapy? It's the same way I got involved in psychedelic assisted therapy. I started getting phone calls or people referring me. I thought, wow, what do I do here? I studied the kind of this stuff and have some ideas here. But I think what's interesting, I had a call and I'm going to be working with two couple people. Stuff's going on in the family. I'm going to do couples and then family stuff. And what was really fascinating for me was they spent all this money, they did all this work, but not one person got into the deep into what's going on in their past and how they started, like what's the roots of that family. And when I say family, we all come forward with a whole constellation of impacts and experiences that really craft us and shape us into the unique people we are. I often think of a tree or a stone. I've always had stones have a lot of power, and stones get crafted over time. They get shaped over time with everything that happens to them. That whole constellation of things is all there in a family. And then they've been kind of, going on with different patterns of attachment, of responses, and everything. So I have a great appreciation and respect for the knowledge that will come up from uncovering and going into that and bringing some of that forward. And everyone in the family gets to kind of do that. That's not always done. I've decided for a variety of reasons that that's an important approach, and time needs to be spent on that. And usually at least 3 sessions minimum. And by doing that, everyone has this information and data that kind of tells us where we're going to go. The other thing, what it does is it adds perspectives. I have a variety of ways that questions and different things to kind of maybe reframe or put different observations, observe things from a different way. And that sometimes helps people see things in a different way. But what's really cool is you get to hear other members give their experiences. And what that does sometimes is maybe it's something you've heard and you want to respond in a certain way. And of course, people respond, hey, you're lying, or whatever. When we all do things. But sometimes you'll hear things or realize the impact it had on somebody. And then you'll shift, because it's really hard to look at someone angrily, fully, when you see the deep pain and how something impacted them, especially at an early age. It starts to either shift you, or suddenly there's an and. I'm angry at this person, and holy cow, they've been in pain since they've been a little boy. And then it's really hard to only be angry at them when you realize, how can I be angry at someone who's been carrying pain since they've been a little kid? So it starts to really shift things in a family unit.
Okay, I get it. So it's kind of shaking up things a little bit to bring something to the surface so that it can be seen, acknowledged, and felt with compassionate eye.
I like what you said, shaking. I'm going to use that actually, because words to me always have meaning. So when you say shaking, it's almost like you dig a little bit under a tree, and then you get the roots, and you have to shake those roots to get the dirt off and really see what's there.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why the shaking up is so important. And I'm always shocked why people don't go there, or or the belief is if you go there, it doesn't help. Well, those roots are always there. Those things are always there. We carry them all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So being in denial of them or trying to bypass them, I don't believe works. Personally speaking, I did that part of my life too. And I finally had to get to a point where it's time to really get into that. And that's an approach and a way I do things.
Yeah, I wish we all had time and the resources to do the family work, because there is a lot of hidden treasure to be found, I believe so, for our personal growth and
Absolutely.
opening.
Each one of us is a hidden treasure. We all have many indigenous groups around the world. We really are a sacred story. And I think if we approached not just therapy, many things like that, the world would be a bit of a different place.
Yes, truly, I believe so too. Thank you for that. That was really
Yeah.
inspiring. I will
Thank
keep
you.
it in my mind and in my heart, of course.
Oh, thank you. That's beautiful.
Well, thank you for your time, Wallace. Mm,
Thank you.
it was really nice chatting with you. I hope I will be able to chat with you again soon.
So,
And yes, for everyone who's interested in any of Wallace's therapies, you are all welcome to click the link in the description of this video and see that he truly offers a lot of different kind of therapies that can cater to many different problems or something we want to dig deeper into in our life. So yeah, we all welcome you to do so. Don't be shy.
absolutely.
We are
Share any.
always shy at the beginning, but later we get over it.
Thank you.
Well, wishing you all the best and speak to you soon.
Okay. Bye for now.